Attack on Titan Season 2 does a great job of shattering the audience's trust in the world of this series, and it is done brilliantly. 2 weeks ago, I made a video on Attack on Titan Season 1, and I described why I thought it was so unique as a first-time viewer. Going into Season 2, I was worried it would be more or less the same thing without anything really unique to focus on. God, was I wrong. While Attack on Titan Season 1 and 2 are tonally similar, they are also vastly different in the story that they set out to tell, and I think that is so impressive that I had to talk about it. In this video, I want to offer my first impressions of this season while breaking down the narrative elements that make it such a successful follow-up. I believe that Season 2 works as well as it does because it is driven by a previously underutilized supporting cast who propel the plot forward in a chaotic building of mysteries that barely allows the viewer time to catch their breath, which culminates in shattering the audience's level of comfort with the world of this series. I'm going to break down every element of that run-on sentence, but first, I want to focus in on the mysteries and revelations that Season 2 utilizes through the supporting cast. The supporting cast I'm referring to are Eren's fellow cadets, who were introduced early in Season 1, but weren't focused on too much. Now, they are the heart of what makes Season 2 so unique. I'm not saying that Season 2 works only because it decided to flesh out its secondary characters, although I was excited at the prospect. It's what the story chooses to do with these characters that absolutely blew me away and was once again unlike anything I had ever seen before. The reason that Season 2 works as well as it does is because of an avalanche of teases about mysteries, payoffs with revelations we didn't even expect, with a focus on characters we are familiar with but don't know much about. So to begin, I want to highlight the way Season 2 differs from Season 1 in how it handles mysteries. Then, I'm going to focus in on how the supporting cast is utilized to subvert audience expectations for how the story will progress. Attack on Titan has always relied on mysteries. Season 1 was chock full of mysteries that the audience was watering at the mouth to get answers to, but Season 2 is structured in a way to deliver revelations and build mysteries differently. I think that this difference is most clearly seen just by looking at the premiere episodes for both seasons. While episode 1 of Season 1 did have some mysteries, they weren't the focus of the episode. Instead, the focus was on developing a feeling of insignificance and powerlessness against the threat of the Titans. The first episode of Season 2, on the other hand, serves the purpose of establishing 3 brand new, earth-shattering revelations which the entire plot of this season becomes centered around. With that said, I think it's important to take a closer look at these 3 relevant mysteries. Within the first 2 minutes of the first episode, we are shown that there is a Titan living in the wall. Now, that's enough craziness to carry the first episode alone, but it only gets more insane. The other major revelations of this episode are that the Titans have somehow breached Wall Rose, and the episode ends with a confrontation with the Beast Titan, this giant, Sasquatch-looking monster who can talk. This season is all gas and no brakes, and this episode really set up an incredible number of earth-shaking mysteries. However, in typical Attack on Titan fashion, none of them are answered by the end of the season, except for the least important but most relevant. The Titan breach of Wall Rose, a plotline led exclusively by the secondary characters, is the key narrative driver for Season 2, and what begins as the most benign of the mysteries, almost unworthy of attention compared to everything else that is going on, becomes ground zero for revelations about this world with tremendous implications for the future. It is the Titans inside the Wall plotline where Eren, Mikasa, and Armin are focused for the first half. This is an extremely important mystery, and it makes sense that these specific characters would be the ones to deal with it, but it's notable that the main characters take a backseat to focus on this plotline, which allows the story to shift focus to the supporting characters, once again differentiating itself from Season 1. The other cadets who were in training camp with Eren, Mikasa, and Armin get more focus in the first half of this season than the entirety of Season 1, and that alone was a brilliant idea. From a simple storytelling point of view, if you want to create a sprawling world with an epic conflict where death and despair can strike at any time, you want the audience to have an emotional attachment to more characters outside of the main protagonists so that they can become victims or victors that tug on the emotions of the audience. However, Season 2 goes above and beyond the mandatory fleshing out of characters that nearly every long-form story goes through. Instead, every single big reveal of this season comes as a direct consequence of the actions of these supporting characters. Each has some massive revelation tied into their backstory or history, which completely alters how we view the world by the end. I think this is such good storytelling because it takes narrative elements we've become accustomed to seeing in the background and suddenly makes them all extremely important. The supporting cast is utilized to subvert your expectations of how the story will progress. It didn't seem out of nowhere to begin focusing on these characters, since they are characters that we know, characters that I liked from the little glimpses we got of them back in Season 1. Reiner, in particular, was my favorite, and he had arguably the largest moment of all these characters back in Season 1 when he escapes from the female Titan, and we will get to that. But this story takes these characters in a direction that no one could have predicted in a subtle building of subversions. The main characters that get the spotlight during this expedition are Connie, Sasha, Krista, Ymir, Reiner, and Bertholdt, and you know where this is going, but I don't want to gloss over Connie and Sasha, who each get their own limited time to shine for a reason. When word of the Titan breach comes, the cadets are fairly close to the villages where Connie and Sasha grew up, and so each lead teams to travel to their respective village to warn the population. Due to this, the first pieces of backstory we get about any of these supporting characters comes from the natural progression of the plot. To begin, we travel to Sasha's village to learn more about where she grew up. This information is completely irrelevant to the story of this season, and for that reason, I think it was extremely clever to begin with Sasha. This establishes that we will learn more about these supporting characters, but lulls the audience into believing that these backstories will all be as benign as hers. This audience manipulation continues with Connie. Once again, the life he's lived informs who he is as a character, but it doesn't feel relevant to the ongoing story. However, the story uses going to Connie's hometown as a stepping stone to establish a new mystery. He finds his village destroyed with no signs of casualties, but there is one Titan stuck atop Connie's family home who reminds him of his mother. This is brushed off as insignificant by some, but it becomes a lingering mystery with an important answer by the end of the season. By fleshing out the side characters, beginning with Sasha and then Connie, the show is temporarily able to get the audience to feel familiar with a pattern for how we'll learn more about the cadets, until the rug is pulled out from under us. Hey, you remember the main characters of this show, right? Well, their storyline about the Titans within the walls only serves to tease Krista's backstory. The importance of these side characters is building in plot relevance, but let me set the stage for the next series of reveals. Two groups of the Survey Corps expedition have met up to discover that there is no breach in the wall. The Titans have gotten within Wall Rose another way, so one of the core mysteries of the season continues to go unsolved. While the Survey Corps rests in a castle, they are attacked by Titans led by the Beast Titan. One would assume in this Titan attack that we are going to discover more about the Beast Titan or even get hints about Krista since she is in the castle, but instead, we find out that Ymir is a Titan. Not only that, but this revelation feeds into the only bit of backstory we have on Reiner and Bertholdt. Ymir is the Titan who ate their friend when they were children. In the present, Ymir fights off the Titans to protect everyone until Eren and crew arrive. In the aftermath, we find out that Krista's real name is Historia Reese, and she's the bastard daughter of an important noble household. Did someone say something about a Sasquatch? I don't remember. There's too much insanity going on. Okay, so I just piled a lot on you, much like the show, and while we're not done with shocking reveals, I hope that reminded you just how crazy and quick these revelations come. Clearly, up to this point, the reason that Season 2 works as well as it does is because of the storyline being driven by the supporting cast. But it's around the midpoint of this season that the show begins to use the supporting cast revelations to destroy the audience's level of comfort with the world of this series. That may sound extreme, but I believe that this season used these characters to flip everything we thought we knew about this world on its head. And the story takes some kind of sick pleasure in doing so, which can be seen in how the final and most important reveal of the series so far is delivered. How the Reiner and Bertholdt reveal is written is clear evidence that this story was interested in subverting audience expectations at every turn in order to deliver on a sense of discomfort. The biggest, most relevant mystery of the series to date is told to Eren in the background of another conversation. On the periphery, Reiner reveals to Eren that he and Bertholdt are the armored and colossal Titans. What the fuck? Now, I'm an anime watcher, But the way that this scene is visually structured made me curious how the manga directed it, and I mean, just look at how it's laid out. The writer is clearly trolling the audience with how this is revealed, but that's what makes it so special and engaging. As the audience, after the Ymir reveal, we are expecting a reprieve from the action, some time for ourselves and the characters to catch their breath. Look at the build-up to the Reiner reveal. It is a cooling down, a regrouping of characters who have been apart. Hanji begins plotting her next move, and as the audience, we begin to think with her, trying to figure out what this group will do now. We are moving with Hanji's group away from Eren, Reiner, and Bertholdt, seemingly at the beginning of new rising action. However, this is a misdirection, and the story is structured to give us this impression while we nearly missed an incredible revelation, and I absolutely adore the ingenuity of it all. Look at how Mikasa is positioned in this scene. She is the embodiment of the audience here. She follows Hanji's group, but hangs back a bit, not wanting to stray too far from Eren. She keeps all the characters tethered together in one scene, and that is just such wonderful direction. She is the bridge between audience expectation of Hanji's new rising action and the true reveal, leading to an unexpected climactic battle between Eren and Reiner. I'm gushing here, but I really respect the hell out of how every little minute detail surrounding this reveal was handled. My point is that there was clearly authorial intent to manipulate the audience's expectations of progression and revelations throughout the season, but for what purpose? This season was crafted specifically to destroy the audience's trust in the characters of this world. The greatest storytelling triumph of this season is that it takes what little bit of comfort the audience had with this world and declares that everything we knew is false. Looking at how the supporting characters' past actions are recontextualized from the perspectives of the main characters, as well as how the narrative itself is structured, it's clear this was a deliberate goal. Think of all we knew about the 6 main supporting characters before this season versus what we know by the end. 3 turn out to be Titans, 1 turns out to be a noble secret bastard, one's hometown is directly connected into figuring out that all of the Titans are actually transformed humans, and the other, we just get a little more backstory about. I've already explained why I think it was critical that Sasha came first, since she is a red herring of irrelevance, but I'm not even convinced that there isn't more to Sasha than meets the eye. That is the true genius of this season. It takes the audience's level of comfort with this horrible world and shows us how naive we were. At this point, I'm half expecting every important character to either be a Titan, a double agent, or God knows what else. After this earth-shaking season, how can the audience trust any of the characters around Eren? Are Levi and Erwin really on the side of humanity? What did happen to Armin's parents anyway? I don't know. I can't be sure about anything anymore. The trust between the audience and the characters is shattered, and we can even see that echoed in Eren's reaction to this whole situation. After their true nature is revealed, Eren is furious with Reiner and Bertholdt, shouting that they are traitors and trying to take them down himself in a good old-fashioned Titan-on-Titan beatdown. Eren despises them for what they've done, and from here, we are shown multiple flashbacks that recontextualize Reiner and Bertholdt's behavior, which stings all the more because it was right under the main characters' noses, but also our own. The 2 main flashbacks we see are the night at training camp, where Armin, Eren, Reiner, and Bertholdt have a heart-to-heart, and Reiner's confrontation with the female Titan. Now, this last one really took me by surprise. After Reiner and Bertholdt's reveals, we flash back to see that Hanji has information that Reiner and Bertholdt were from the same area as Annie, and she figures they may be in cahoots. Armin reflects that couldn't be possible because Annie almost killed Reiner on that expedition, but oh no. This show takes the most badass supporting character moment from season 1 and completely recontextualizes it. In another brilliant bit of directing, the story puts us in Armin's perspective as he unravels this betrayal, that Reiner was actually helping Annie after tricking Armin. These recontextualizing moments are similar to the flashback we see of Ymir and Krista bonding during the training camp days. While this was new information we'd never seen before, it serves nearly the same role. You'll also notice that during this backstory, Eren, Mikasa, and Armin are on the periphery, solidifying to the audience that they have been oblivious to the true nature of those around them for years. The reveals with Krista, Ymir, Reiner, and Bertholdt establish that each person in this world has a secret life. Characters who seem irrelevant, like Krista and Ymir, could actually be very significant, or characters who seem trustworthy can have their own ulterior motives. The Armored and Colossal Titan reveal is the final nail in the coffin, telling the audience that no matter how anyone acts, going forward, there will always have to be some level of distrust and suspicion. Season 2 uses the supporting cast and their revelations in order to destroy the faith our characters and humanity at large can place in each other. If you cannot tell by this point, I really enjoyed Season 2 far more than I thought I would. The story went in a brand new direction I had not expected, utilizing a supporting cast I was eager to learn more about, only to exponentially increase the insanity of this world with bombastic revelations that will change how I perceive everything going forward. While the season doesn't end with the Armored Titan fight, I think this is a good place for me to stop, because this climax is the proper culmination of all the elements I've talked about. After Reiner and Bertholdt's reveal, the series goes back to handling mysteries and the supporting cast similarly to how they were handled in Season 1, and while I like the back half of this season, I simply don't think it would have worked as well without the subversions of the first half. There are titans within the walls. There is a beast titan who can talk, and you cannot even trust your friends in this cruel world. I couldn't be more excited for Season 3. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. This script was a bit harder to write than my previous one, so if you disagree with any of my points, please let me know. I'd love to have a conversation about this in the comments, as I'm still working through my own thoughts. If you did like this video, my video on Season 3 will be coming out at the end of this month. Thanks again, and until the next one, I'll shut up.